What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. I love to see what's going on with the chat. Everybody hitting bets today in the chat on the show. Let's take a look at how we did yesterday before we bring in the stars. 4-1. We'll take that every time. Buckets, who's not going to be with us today, unfortunately, hopefully back tomorrow. He goes 2-0. Absolutely love to see it. The Sniper, 2-0 for back-to-back days. Don't forget, we were 3-2 on the Saturday recap screen as well. Sniper was a big part of that. A-Mags loses the Mackenzie Gore play. I probably should have gone with my lean. I said it yesterday. I liked the Mets in that game and ended up going extras. It was a very exciting 10th inning. They end up winning that game as well. All right. Well, enough about looking into the past. Let's look into the future. Let's bring on the stars of the show. We're one short, but we've got two of the best that have ever done it on SportsLine. Larry Hartstein, the maestro, Alex Selznick, Propstarz. Gentlemen, Larry, I'll start with you. We're about to talk a little bit NBA before we get into our official picks. Quite the frenzy the last couple days.
Yeah, incredible with Paul George going to the Sixers and their championship odds getting cut in half. I think they had to do it. You know, you have a limited window with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. I think he's a great fit and a huge upgrade over Tobias Harris. I think you have a 2-year shot now to win the title. Then paying him $50 million when he's 38 years old is not going to make much sense, but they're obviously going for it now. I mean, the East is actually, I think, more interesting than the West, because if you look at what the Knicks did with OG and Mikal Bridges, and what about Orlando getting KCP? This is a move that's not being talked about enough. The best on-ball defender in the league. Opponents shot 40% when KCP was matched up against him. That really hurts the Nuggets to lose him. But I don't know. It's a great time of year to talk NBA.
Proppy, your reaction to the Sixers getting Paul George? I thought that was an interesting one.
I think it's a great move as well, just to echo what Larry said regarding Paul George. I think he's an optimal kind of second or third scoring option. What he adds instantaneously, and the Sixers' biggest weakness offensively has been spacing. His ability to knock down three-point shots, just being on the court, is going to have a tremendous effect for Tyrese Maxey, who we know how dangerous he is driving through the lane. You know, Joel Embiid obviously playing primarily with his back to the basket. So love the move. I also love the Eric Gordon signing and Andre Drummond, two guys that can give you 15 to 20 minutes on a daily or nightly basis, in addition to some spot starts here or there. With Embiid, you know, he's pretty much a lock to miss 15 games, even if he stays completely healthy. So having a viable backup behind Embiid, I think, is a really good thing. So I love the Drummond signing, love Eric Gordon as well. They obviously signed Maxey to an extension. So the Sixers are all in with this core. I think it's a very talented group. I do think they are the second favorite in the East behind Boston. And I have to mention the Thunder as well. I absolutely love what the Thunder have done. Adding Alex Caruso in addition to Isaiah Hartenstein. These are both veteran players with experience, very good defensively. Love the front court addition. They also re-signed some of their homegrown talent as well. So I really look at the Sixers and the Thunder as the two biggest winners through free agency thus far.
Yeah, interesting. I liked OKC even before those moves. And I think, we were on the network just a week ago talking about some of these teams that we might like that are maybe a little bit longer, because OKC was 10-1. We see the updated odds right now on the championship on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube. Let me ask you this, Larry, before we move on to our official picks. Maybe we didn't talk about Klay Thompson enough here. Your thoughts on Klay Thompson going to the Mavericks? I don't know that I love that move. And personally, I'm not in love with the Paul George move either, although I do get that one a little bit more than the Klay Thompson one. Both those guys, 34 years old, by the way, have a history of some pretty bad injuries. In the Western Conference, I like OKC a lot this year. I like the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially with what they did in the draft with Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon. Your reaction to the Klay Thompson news before we move on?
Yeah, my reaction was kind of what the betting market did, and that was a big shrug, that he's just not the same player anymore. It didn't move the odds. The one thing I really love is seeing the chat. People are settling up action in the chat as we speak, with Venmos going back and forth, which I love to see. You don't see that on a lot of shows.
Oh, that is so good. Chad Eubanks, I guess he was the one that sent something. Bradley Jacobs is already putting soccer picks in the chat. Please pay attention to Bradley Jacobs. Unfortunately, we don't have Buckets or Martin Green here today. Bradley always coming through with some incredible picks. So make sure you check out all. Moshi was hot yesterday. We've got a lot of cappers in the chat that are really moving the needle, if you will. All right. You know who was moving the needle, prop stars, about a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago? A guy I bet on a week and a half ago, and I got absolutely rocked when I bet him. It was Luis Heel. And he is involved in your official pick. Are we thinking Luis Heel kind of, brings back some of the magic we saw a couple months ago or a month ago? Or is it Luis Heel regression candidate and it's coming through?
Yeah, I'm fading Luis Heel. See, I'm going under 6.5 strikeouts for the Phenom, the rookie, the leading candidate to win AL Rookie of the Year. And Luis Heel has played very well, but the regression has begun. If we look at the month of June, he's really struggled. He's been on a downward trajectory, so I don't think that's suddenly going to change. Also, playing against a Reds team on paper, this looks like a terrific matchup. They're top 5 in K rate. However, if we zoom in from June 1st, they actually have the 11th lowest K rate, so not quite the cupcake matchup that it may appear at first glance. I just don't trust Luis Heel to pitch more than 5 innings as well. When he was really rolling there, I was also signaling that the regression was coming, particularly in the strikeout department where he ran really hot for the majority of the season, certainly come back down to earth, both from an ERA standpoint, but in the strikeouts as well. So Luis Heel can go 5 or 6 innings and still stay under 7 strikeouts, in my opinion. So love this spot to fade him. Good number out there as well. You can get this close to -110.
All right. Well, David Talk, maybe a Yankees fan, says Heel is going to have a big day, bounce back day for the Yankees. Interesting take there. I mean, we'll have to wait and see on that. Looking at more comments again, check out Bradley's pick in the chat. I'm looking for other picks in the chat. Thank you all for sending them. We've got a SportsLine pick though for you. We're going to fade Angel Reese, kind of. Listen, Angel Reese having a great season, but we're just fading her points here. Double machine. As you all know, if you're watching the WNBA, and honestly, if you're not, you should. The game Taurasi versus Caitlin Clark, what was it? Sunday night, I believe. That was a really, really exciting game. Some of these games are really fantastic. Sky play the dream tonight at 7 o'clock. We're fading Angel Reese in the points department under 14.5 points at -118. That is your WNBA SportsLine pick. If you want to make that pick, where do you go? How about BetMGM? New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. I know we talk about that promo a lot. If you guys have not taken advantage of that, I got to say, BetMGM has, and this isn't just because they're a sponsor or a partner, they are quickly becoming one of my favorite books. And in fact, the baseball bets I have coming up, I went right to BetMGM because I knew they would have these plays. One is not a unique play, but the other one, very easy to find at BetMGM. But that promo is completely legit. I need everybody to know that because I know some of this stuff goes in one ear, out the other. But BetMGM quickly becoming one of my favorite books, notwithstanding that promo. It's just a good book as it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to my picks and we got to get to Larry's pick. And we'll do it right after this message from our partners. We are back on the early edge presented by BetMGM. Larry, go ahead.
I just have to call an audible here. And, Alex's record speaks for itself. I just updated his profile with his final NBA numbers. His MLB is incredible. His NFL is incredible. But if you're going to call yourself the official K-prop sheriff, to me, you should have to spell it right. So that's on the screen if you're not watching the show.
No. Sheriff's a tough one to spell. In fact, Proppy, before you respond, For those of you in the chat, there's always like that 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 words that every time you try to type it or write it, like you just can't figure it out. One of those words for me is rhythm. The most frustrating word of all time from a spelling standpoint. If you have one of those words that it's just like dessert and desert, like the sheriff, is it 2 R's, 1 F, 2 R? Like, I don't even know. Proppy, your response, you probably should have maybe spell check that one.
I should have spell checked that. And I would say, as far as dessert and desert, something stuck with me since I was a young child. If you're spelling dessert, you always want seconds. So there's 2 S's. If you're going to the desert, you only want to go there once. So there's 1 S. So always remember that with dessert and desert. But I think Jake actually is responsible for updating our little bios here. So I'm going to say it was his fault as far as the misspelling of sheriff.
Throwing Jake under the bus is a very veteran move. I'm waiting for those
He's just
words.
here to defend himself. It was certainly me. So I just had to try.
I'm waiting for those words to come in because I know everybody's got, or some people have one of those words that they just absolutely hate. Favre is an interesting one from Chad Eubanks. That one is a unique spelling. The guy who was going for the Brewers, the guy who started for the Brewers, Larry, you and I were on HQ last night. Zastrinsny. That's a tough one to pronounce and spell. There's like 7 Z's in his name. All right, well, we're going to that game. We're going to the Brewers game. We're going to the Rockies. Listen, I'm trying to have some fun here. We just talked about Propstarz record. It's so much better than mine. I've been on a bit of a cold streak when it comes to Major League Baseball. I'm going to target this Rockies-Brewers game in multiple ways. I think this is one of those games where you can get involved in a laddering or in player props and just kind of hope this game is what we think it's going to be, which is run heavy. And that's because Feltner's on the mound, but more importantly, Dallas Keuchel is on the mound. This Dallas Keuchel, 10 years removed from his Cy Young, has been really bad over the last few years. I'm frankly surprised he's still pitching in the major leagues. And now he pitches for Milwaukee, has to walk into Colorado. And listen, Colorado, not exactly the best hitting team, but again, it's Dallas Keuchel. For all of you that are like, hey, let's celebrate Patrick Corbin Day. I think this is Patrick Corbin Day on steroids, folks. And I think Dallas Keuchel is very likely to get lit up. So my first play is going to be the Rockies Brewers first 5 over 5.5. Again, I do want to target Feltner here too. I think you can go on just the Rockies side and take, for example, over 3.5 earned runs for Dallas Keuchel. I think that's a fine play. I think you can take the Colorado Rockies team total in the first 5, in the first 7, in the first 9, however you want to play that. I think there's potential for all of that to come to fruition, but I also think Ryan Feltner is a pretty bad pitcher, particularly in Colorado. He gets lit up. So I think both of these pitchers are potentially in trouble. Milwaukee been scoring some runs lately, so I'm okay with that side of it. My next play, this is the one I ran to BetMGM for because I'm sure other books have this, but it's just really easy to find at BetMGM. I've got the Rockies Brewers, both teams to score 3 or more in the first 7 innings at -120. I think this is just one of those where the juice is down a little bit. And again, I expect both down relative to the first 5 I just mentioned. And I expect both of these teams to not necessarily go off, but to both have really good days. I wouldn't be shocked if this comes in the first 5. If Keuchel comes out of this game or Feltner comes out, I'm not really, especially on the Rocky side, I'm not really worried about the bullpen work. So I think first 7 is pretty solid for both of these teams to score 3+ runs. So again, I'm just trying to dive into this game and try to take advantage of it from multiple sides. These are just 2 sides. I think there's a lot of different ways you could play this, but I'm playing it in the first 7 and in the first 5. All right. That's my Colorado Rockies. Hopefully that's a fun game and it's not 1-0 in the third and I'm sweating even getting close to it, but really, really like this game to pop a little bit. All right, Larry, we go from that game to a game that probably doesn't have a ton of pop because I know you're targeting the Seattle Mariners Orioles game with a total of, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have to correct me. I think I just saw it, 7.5. This is probably a lower scoring affair with 2 solid pitchers on the mound, but we're not playing a total here, right?
No, it is the best pitchers park in baseball, and the Mariners have been taking full advantage of that at home where they're 28-14, a totally different team. They just did lose a home series for the first time in their last 10 home series. I think they're going to come out and win the first 5 behind George Kirby. You know, they haven't lost any of his last 5 home starts in the first 5, 4-0-1. He's a totally different pitcher at home with a 2.34 ERA, and Grayson Rodriguez for the Orioles has shown the vulnerability on the road with a 5.35 road ERA. So it just sets up with the Mariners as home dogs to be ahead after 5 innings. I absolutely love it. There's not a team in all of baseball with a bigger home road split than the Mariners. And it's because those pitchers know how to use that park. They know that they can challenge guys. The fly balls are hopefully going to die in that big cavernous stadium and not going to carry. And I'm going to back George Kirby yet again in the first 5.
Yeah, interesting. Let me ask you this. I'm not asking for an official play. By the way, speaking of official plays, Buckets is in the chat. I don't know if he's given a play out, and he probably hasn't had time to give a play out because I know he's got Freya on his mind and making sure she is good. But always when we got Buckets or Brasco or Larry in the chat, or Propstarz, always check. Maybe they're sneaking in an official or unofficial play. Let me ask you this, Larry, real quick. Because I looked at the total in that game as I look at it now, because I'm just trying to see if it is, oh, wow, that is very interesting. It was 7.5 this morning, Larry. I'm looking on one particular sports book, and now it's 7, and it's juiced to the under. I liked the under at 7.5. Not in love with it at 7, but talking about a pitcher's park here, any thoughts on the total? Has it come down so much you'd actually consider the over, or it's just an absolute stay away for you?
Yeah, not for me. I mean, I think this is going to be, 2-1, something like that after 5. Hopefully the Mariners are on top because that's what they do at home. They get that one big hit that they need, and they don't get it on the road at all. I'm going to stay away from this.
Yeah, interesting. Brandon Silva, good comment here. He says, I like Grayson Rodriguez over 7.5 Ks. I don't know what plus 100. Oh, that's the line. Okay, sorry. It was just written weird. G-Rod doesn't start. Okay, yeah. Either way, Grayson Rodriguez over 7.5 Ks is an interesting one. Proppy, you are the K guy. 7.5 is pretty high. Is that one you would probably stay away from? Any thoughts on Brandon Silva's play?
I don't mind it. I mean, it's certainly the optimal opponent. The Mariners strike out more than any team in baseball. Grayson Rodriguez, while he has struggled on the road, the strikeout numbers have been impressive, having a career season as far as strikeout rate is concerned. The whiff rate's been very good. So I would definitely only look at the over, not considering fading him. So I don't mind that at all.
Yordan Alvarez over 1.5 total bases, says Big Cheesy. And Zach Dyer says no run first inning in that Seattle game. I have started to look at no run first inning, yes run first inning in some of these games. Larry, I just want to ask you your opinion. Zach, by the way, when you put that in there, just know that we're not necessarily looking at that line as you're looking at it. So if you could put in the juice and the price, because that's really important in these games. Sometimes you'll see minus 160 or plus 140. Hard to consider it without knowing what the price is. But Larry, your thoughts on, do you make those bets, the yes and the no run first inning?
Sometimes I looked at that. It was, as Moshi points out in the chat, it's over minus 140, which kept me away.
Gotcha. Okay. And it looks like BetMGM, according to Jake, who was just on it all the time. You all don't know how much Jake does behind the scenes, but he's already communicated to all of us that at BetMGM, of course, it's minus 135. Yet again, BetMGM giving us the best price at minus 135. Gosh, I got to say, I don't bet these. I truly I will time to time, but I'm certainly no expert when it comes to this. I kind of like the minus 135 at BetMGM, Larry.
I wouldn't dissuade you from that.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. And it's always fun to cash in the first inning. It's kind of like a first round leader situation when you get to cash before 1/4 of the tournament is over. Speaking of first round leaders, tonight at 7:00, the early wedge, it's me, it's Patrick McDonald, and of course it's Eric Cohen hosting and dishing out picks. We're going to be talking John Deere Classic. This is one of those non-signature events with really no big names, but I got to be honest with you, we talk about it on the show a lot. It really doesn't matter from a betting perspective, from a DFS perspective. I got a rebound from last week. My DFS picks were not very good. My picks overall were not very good. I am feeling a lot better about this tournament than I was last week, so hopefully that comes to fruition. But I will say this, we have been pretty good in the outright department over the last month. So something to consider. I also had that live Cam Davis play on Sunday, which I know some of you cashed, but early wedge tonight at 7:00. Do not forget it. Larry, I see you laughing. Before we pick up the recap screen, did I miss something in the chat?
No, I just see that Proppy made a correction on his moniker there.
Oh, Proppy, one final response before we get to the recap screen. You're clear on Sheriff now? I wasn't sure how to spell it either.
I don't know who did or didn't do that, but I do want to wish our producer extraordinaire behind the scenes, Jake, a very, very happy 29th birthday. For those of you that don't know, Jake runs everything behind the scenes, and he does a tremendous job. And he just celebrated a birthday, I believe, yesterday.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I feel a little silly. Happy. Yeah, and he was okay. So now this is all making sense. Proppy, thanks for saying that. Everybody, please. Thank you, Moshi, for starting that off. Everybody, put happy birthday, Jake, in the chat. I don't think people really understand or appreciate it, and it's not forward facing, so I kind of get it. Without Jake, this show doesn't move. It doesn't happen. Jake is pulling all the strings. He's not just making the graphics. He's doing a lot of the communication things behind the scenes that you all never see, and he does it so seamlessly. So big time happy birthday to Jake. Proppy, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, chat. Rich, Ray, Brian, Taylor, David, Chad, really appreciate that. All right, let's take a look at the recap screen, and we'll finally get out of here. What do we have on the recap screen? What do we have? Oh, maybe we don't have the recap screen. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. We don't have the recap screen right now. It'll probably come up in just a second. But I've got the Rockies Brewers first 5 over 5.5 at -128. Rockies Brewers, both teams to score 3+ runs through 7 innings at -120. Again, that one I found at BetMGM. Propstarz, Louis Seal under 6.5 Ks at -113. Maestro, Mariners first 5 money line at -106. The SportsLine pick, Angel Reese under 14.5 points. And by the way, don't forget, folks, we've got picks in the chat. I don't know. Buckets might have had a pick in there. You always go to his Twitter and find something. But we know Bradley Jacobs has some soccer picks in here. We know Moshi put some picks in here. Zach Dyer, David Talk, Big Cheesy. You all are always putting in picks. Really appreciate that. What a great Tuesday. What a great Tuesday show. It's going to be even better later on today when we get to the early wedge. We got a lot coming up, folks. We got the 10 o'clock show tomorrow morning. We've got a network show tomorrow at 2 o'clock. All the people you saw today, plus some more. We're going to be talking a lot of the NBA free agency, MLB best bets, WNBA, anything that's going on, maybe some NFL futures. I don't know. You'll have to tune in at 2 o'clock tomorrow on CBS Sports Network and find out. But for the here and now, we got to get out of here finally. Thank you, Jake the Snake. Happy birthday to you, my friend. And thank you, Propstarz. And of course, Larry Hartstein, the maestro. This has been The Early Edge. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. I'm the Counselor of Cash, and we rest our case.